Hello and welcome. Our today's topic is creating and maintaining competitive advantage. The topics that will be covered is what parameters constitute competitive advantage and how to create and maintain them. We will be briefly talking about Porter's 5 forces model of competition, and also effectuation is another model for selecting business model to gain competitive advantage based on your immediate resources available under your disposal. So, what is competitive advantage? Competitive advantage are the skills necessary to outpace your rivals, meaning you would like to remain ahead of your rivals in terms of acquiring customers, in terms of gaining growth, sustaining business. Most successful companies derive these benefits through technology, meaning IP, through brands, through adopting or restructuring with the rapid changes that happens in the marketplace, customer change, customer test their liking. So, they try to adopt as quickly as possible, or maybe they preempt the changes that are going to happen in the marketplace and prepare themselves with the change. So, competitors remain followers, whereas you remain ahead of the competition. So, one thing is that you must have a wonderful product market fit, so that there is no reason why customer will not buy your product, and then customer should fall in love with your brand, with the story that you kind of tell them. So, your story should resonate with their aspirations. There is a perfect fit in that. Create unique competencies. We will be talking about core competencies that gives huge capability in manufacturing, capability in cost cutting, capability in maintaining customer relations, etc., etc. So, factors normally regarded as responsible for competitive advantage, or factors that you try to improve to gain competitive advantage. This list is by no means comprehensive. There are many more, but I just picked up some of them which I liked, and they are not in any particular chronology or order, but just randomly distributed. First is entry barrier, meaning you are in the business and you want that other potential or would be entrepreneur should not find it easy to enter into your marketplace. So, you kind of try to create an entry barrier against entrance from outside. So, you want to protect your market. Scalability, meaning your business should scale as quickly as possible, because we have discussed something called crossing the chasm, meaning that acquiring some customer at the beginning, like innovator kind of customer or early adopters, maybe is slightly easy, because these are the people who like to experiment with new products. But then moving from early adopters to early majority is a huge difficult phase. So, they call it chasm or turbulent or say twister or something. So, it is very difficult to cross. So, unless you have some model, some plans to move to the next level, the business will not scale. So, business has to be scalable, otherwise the business fall into the valley of death. Pricing power, meaning that you can increase the price without the fear of losing some of the customers. How can you create that? You have to have loyal customers. They will buy your product no matter what, even if they will not mind, even if the price goes up a little bit. So, whenever input cost goes up, you are kind of safe. You can safely pass on the increased price, or say increased duty, government taxes or anything to the customer without the fear of losing them. Core competence, repeatability is very important. Customer should come repeatedly, otherwise you spend a fortune acquiring a customer. Unless they come again and again, it will be difficult for you to recover the acquisition cost and then make profit during the lifetime of a customer. Core competency is unique capability that is created over the years through strategy, through continuous effort, and it gives some capability that is not visible. It gets embedded into the system, and the system becomes agile, system becomes very efficient, which is not visible. So, nobody can copy that, and you gain this advantage, which may be your cost advantage, maybe quality advantage, maybe business process advantage that you create over the years very diligently. Compelling nature of the pain. If the customer has a compelling pain and they are crying for a solution, obviously you have advantage. Of course, your product must have better efficacy compared to competitors, growth potential, technological edge, ownership of IP. Technology and ownership of IP are the same thing, but sometimes you may not have the IP, but still if you have technological edge, meaning that your process is better or your product has better efficacy. So, and that may be protected by IP, you have entry barrier created around your business. So, you have advantage. Easy product extension. So, you advertise and then you create a brand, and people become loyal to your company, your brand, and you can safely put another product under the same brand or under the name of your company, and then customers already are loyal to your brand. So, they will buy the new products that you try to promote moving forward. So, whatever you are marketing, there should be an easy extension. Like suppose if you are marketing something which is very unique and there is no other product which is very similar to that or related to that, then it becomes very difficult. Suppose you are selling say some kind of biscuits. Now, you want to gain you want to acquire a new market or gain new market segment or something. Now, suppose you introduce an organic variety of biscuits. So, you are already known to the market that you have a wonderful brand and customers trust your quality, your honesty, integrity, your ethical standard. So, once you have created that, now you introduce a new product, customer will not hesitate to buy even at a higher price. You tell them that this is organic, organic itself has a value, but then organic by any Tom, Dick, Harry may not be bought by customer, may not be accepted. But if you have a brand presence, particularly in food industry, unless you have you do not have a brand presence and you introduce a new product, people will remain apprehensive. Logistic advantage, meaning if you have if you are a manufacturing company, you are located close to raw material sources, or maybe you are within the marketplace where you are close to the market. Great brand with loyal followers, we have discussed that. So, entry barrier, just talking a little bit about them, because we have already discussed, time is of the essence. So, we will not dwell in at length. So, technological edge, economies of scale and cost advantage thereof. Suppose you have a huge manufacturing capability. So, per unit cost is going to be low, because your overhead cost will be distributed among many number of units. So, you will have a cost advantage. Brand loyalty, these are superimposition of some of the points, but that is how you create entry barrier. Geographical barrier, meaning that you are present say at particular point where the market is. Now, suppose you are manufacturing cement, which is voluminous and transportation is a huge cost. Now, suppose you are present in a particular city. So, another company whose manufacturing unit is elsewhere, they will not be able to market their product in this city where you are present, because of the geographical advantage, because you do not have to carry the product to another city, maybe say 100 kilometers away. So, this is how geographical barriers can be created by remaining present close to the marketplace. There may be many more. Access to strategic resources, like suppose you are manufacturing aluminum, you have access to bauxite mine, this is strategic resource. So, you have a natural advantage. If not, then you will be at the mercy of the suppliers, and then you lose. Means if anybody wants to depend on third party supply, then he or she or that business will not have this advantage, and you create entry barrier through the license that you gain from the government. Product differentiation, meaning if your product, you are in the market segment where other companies are there, but you create some kind of you introduce some kind of features that are critical for the customers, a subgroup of the customers, and they value that particular feature greatly. So, you create product differentiation targeting this particular audience, and they won't buy another product because that particular feature may not be there. So, that is how you create product differentiation and gain competitive advantage, create kind of entry barrier. The degree of firm concentration, meaning how thickly there are competitors present. So, if there are very thickly present, then there is no barrier, but if there are thinly present, then you can create barrier. Capital requirement, meaning that if that is very specific to particular business, like I mentioned about cement or steel or say power plant, wherever means these companies are capital intensive, meaning that it requires a lot of initial capital. These are sunk cost. Once invested, you cannot sell that and realize that. So, these kind of businesses because they require huge capital investment, new entrant will not usually venture into that because they will not feel comfortable, because in case they are not profitable, then the entire money is sunk. So, that has some advantage for the existing incumbent. Customer switching cost, meaning that suppose you are selling water filter, suppose it is say AquaGuard or some other filter. So, now once you sell the filter, then on an annual basis you sell them cartridges. So, these cartridges are not adaptable to other filters. So, for customer to go to another company, there is a huge amount of switching cost, because the initial money that they have invested is a sunk cost, and they cannot recover that by switching to another company unless they give some kind of an exchange model or something. Access to distribution channel, like Flipkart, they have e-cart. So, it is a natural access. You can talk to Indian postal department to create that advantage. Government policy is another one. If you are in an industry where the policy is favorable, etc., etc. This is how entry barrier is created. I was talking about entry barrier. See, it is a kind of a symbolic way of means giving an analogy with real different examples. So, the palace that you see in the water body, at the center of the otter body, is protected, because this otter body has maybe crocodile or something. In the night time, they remove the pathway or the culvert that is normally there during daytime. You can see the image at the top, that is during daytime, and the image at the bottom is the night time, and there is no access to this palace. So, they create an entry barrier during night, so that no enemy can enter inside. If somebody tries to swim, he will be eaten by crocodile. So, you consider your business to be this palace, or business means your customers, your market, and you want your market to be protected against new entrant or competitors, entry by competitors. So, you would like to do anything to create this kind of a barrier and protect your market. Scalability we have already discussed, I will not dwell so much. Business has to, you must scale the business. For any entrepreneurship business, unless you are capable of scaling, then business is gone. Like say Amazon, Flipkart, Practo, they have scaled. Some of the companies they did not scale, and they found it very difficult to move forward. In particularly in network based companies, where network based companies like Amazon, Flipkart, they are all network based companies, scalability is a must, and we will discuss that. We have a separate slide on that. Market structure, next point, and this is again very important for not only for creating competitive advantage, even before entering into any business. If you are thinking of exploring a business model to start a business, you must be very careful about market structure. This is mostly consists of market size. What the total size of the market is? The market size is small, and there are competitors. It's very difficult to make money and grow. The present market growth, if the market is growing fast enough, good, and the future growth potential. Whatever is the present growth, market must grow in the future. So, you must have some kind of insight that the market is going to grow, because you are a new entrant, you have to capture customer, maybe snatch customer from existing players. So, unless the market is growing, you will find going very difficult. the number of firms, and number of firms are many, definitely it's not a good market structure. Market share of largest firm, if the largest firm has something like 70-80% market and the remaining small percentage are shared by many, you are going to be a small player in a small segment, a small portion of the market. It's not good. So, there should not be many dominant player. The succinct message is that demand supply gap, there should be more demand than supply. The cost structure, if it is capital intensive, your overhead cost is going to be very high. The cost structure is more fixed cost, less variable cost. So, one has to be very careful in a capital intensive business where overhead cost is very high. Unless the volume is very high, it is not wise to enter into the business, because realizing the fixed cost itself means reaching break even. We will talk about break even in a different session, is going to be very difficult. The degree to which industry is integrated, forward, backward integrated, the industry is highly integrated and you are catering, you are present only in a small part of the value chain, starting from raw material, then finally the finished product, you are just catering to a small part, it is very difficult to sustain. So, you need to be integrated. So, means having integration at the beginning itself is going to be very difficult. So, that is not a good market structure. The extent of product differentiation, if everybody is offering some kind of differentiation in product, and if you are not capable of identifying a new niche, a new differentiation in your product, it is going to be very difficult. So, if the products are not very differentiated, and if you find that you can come up with a differentiation and that can be unique, some customers will be taking that as a unique value proposition, then it is a good proposition. Customer turnover, how quickly customers are changing over from one brand to another brand, or are they too loyal to brand, then it is very difficult. If they are not, they are switching casually, quickly, it is a fine market for new entrant. Then you create brand and make them loyal to your brand. There will be huge potential. Market types, this is a very brief discussion. A detailed discussion should be detailed knowledge should be gathered from good economics book. So, I am just giving you only 3 types of market. There are many other types of market. One is monopolistic, oligopolistic, perfect competition. Monopolistic is almost a single company offering a single product to the entire segment. So, they have huge pricing power, because whatever price they command, people are going to buy, because there is no other competing product. Normally, their products are simple and pricing power is very high. Entry barrier also is very high, because they must have acquired or developed a new technology, new product that others were not capable of. That is why perhaps they have this monopoly, or they have access to strategic resources like mine or something else that prevents others from entering into the market. Oligopolistic, there are small number of companies, and every company is offering something like a differentiated product or maybe similar product. Differentiation is not so important, and the barrier to entry is high, because these oligopolists who are small in number, but they are always in syndicate, or they collude among themselves, like they create group, means they themselves are group, they work in group, and whenever they intend to increase the price, they will consult each other and increase the price. This is not legally tenable, means government comes heavily, this is not good for consumers. That is why it is not allowable, permissible, that any different companies colluding among themselves and increasing the price. So, oligopolists like say cement. So, there are few cement companies, there are micro cement companies, bearing from them there are few cement major companies with a countrywide logistic or distribution network, supply chain. So, if they want to increase the price, perhaps they can discuss among themselves and increase. So, they kind of have huge pricing power. Perfect competition is where there are a lot of companies and there is no product differentiation, everybody sells almost similar product. So, there is not much of switching cost for the customer. Out of these 3, monopolistic companies, they are price giver, meaning that they dictate the price. oligopolists also dictate the price, whereas perfect competition market, here the businesses cannot dictate price. If somebody increases the price, the others, he or this company will lose market, meaning customers will switch to some other product. So, that this for perfect competition, that is the problem, and margin also is very low, meaning profit is less, whereas monopolist, they have huge profit because they always have pricing power. Pricing power is the capacity to increase price without affecting level of customers' demand for the product, to discuss that. So, the ability to raise prices is one of the most important characteristics, because whenever market situation is not so good, meaning input costs are high, you can pass it over to the customer and maintain your profit. So, your business becomes sustainable. So, that is why pricing power is something that every company looks toward. Here is a wonderful and interesting example of pricing power. See, there was a drug called Daraprim. It was introduced in US and it was a life saving drug, and they were selling at $13.5 a capsule. Then some guy suddenly realized that because these capsules are life saving and there is no competitor in the marketplace, he took over this company, and next day he priced it at $750 a capsule, and no customer, he did not lose any customer, because this is a life saving drug and customers have to buy this. This came in the New York Times. So, there is no cook up or no manufacturing of this news, this is a news item. So, overnight one patient's total expenses for treatment went to hundreds of thousands of dollars. It is a huge increase, but then customer had no choice but to buy them. But remember, this is not, neither this is ethical. Of course, in US there is no bar how you can increase the price, but this is not tenable, not sustainable in the long run. If there is a super profit potential for anything, for any business, in no time there will be too many competitors coming in, whatever is the technology. No technology is so difficult that it cannot be copied or reinvented by somebody. So, somebody will come up. Look at this, in July 2000, that was in 2015, in July a copycat, already FDA was trying to approve, or was in the process of approving a copycat which will be sold at $1. In India, that drug is available for 4 cents only. In Australia, school children came up with a new molecule that will cost something like $1. So, that is what one should be very careful about, pricing power and increasing the price really too much. Repeatability, meaning customers should come repeatedly. You incur huge cost in customer acquisition. Unless customers are coming repeatedly, then it is very difficult to recover that. How to do that? There has to be possibility of product extension. It has to be a business where you offer so many variety of products that customer will always have something to pick up. So, once they become a customer, you try to communicate them that I have this products. So, they will keep on clicking somewhere or the other during their birthday, during New Year's, during many other occasions. They are going to come back and buy from you. Eventually, you recover customer acquisition cost and eventually you make profit. Core competency is one of the most important competency. It was it was first introduced by C.K. Prahalad and Gary Hamel. C.K. Prahalad happened to be an Indian, but he was a professor in University of Michigan. He was, now he is no more. The core competence, and he was a management guru of his time. He was regarded as among the best management gurus. They came up with the idea of core competency. I think it came in 1995 in a publication. I do not remember the journal name. So, core competency, I think it came out in Harvard Business Review perhaps. So, core competency, how Prahalad explained, is an area of a specialized expertise that is the result of harmonizing complex streams of technology and work activity, meaning that you harmonize many capabilities, like how you handle your people, how you motivate them to be creative, how you make everything efficient, how everybody becomes quality conscious. So, everything together you gain some kind of capability that is a sum total of all the capabilities, all the efforts, all the strategy, all efficiencies together gives you a unique capability that is called core competency, and it is not visible because it is a combination of so many things and you do it. not in a formula, there is no formula written somewhere. So, from outside no competitors will be able to understand as to what gave you these advantages. So, they will not be able to copy. That is the succinct message of explanation about core competency, but it is huge and it is a wonderful thing to have. So, any company having core competency, they always enjoy a good competitive advantage. Easy product extension, because you create a brand spending a fortune. So, if you have another product, like you piggyback means you have one product, then put another product behind it, meaning the first product actually the pool, the loyalty that is enjoyed by the first product will carry the next product and the next product and the next. So, you keep on introducing new product. As your product reach to the saturation stage, you keep on introducing new product, and you have means you continue to enjoy the market. Introduce new products targeting the same segment, natural extension of logistic advantage, meaning it is the locational advantage, either close to the nearness to the customer, nearness to the raw material, etc., etc. Strong brand presence. We discussed about brand a huge for a long time in my earlier presentations. So, we will not dwell so much, but still brand actually connects customer emotionally with your company, your product, and then they become loyal, means they kind of become emotionally attached, and you continue to enjoy their loyalty and they keep on buying your product. So, you must have a story which will resonate with customers' aspiration, their emotion, their sense of value, and then you create a wonderful bond. Like I gave an example of Huggies. Huggies actually told this story about skin to skin contact and the enormous advantage of that to the babies. Like the baby create some unique immunity, their vitals improves, they create bond with their parents, etc., etc. And Huggies, the name actually starts with hugs. So, everything together they told a story, and mothers became loyal to the brand. Some more points, like cost leadership strategy. If you have a huge scale for production, then you enjoy cost advantage. Then product differentiation, we have discussed that. Operational effectiveness, like business process management. So, meaning that you do whatever you do the best, that of course comes in effectuation as well. Adaptability to competitive advantage, meaning that market is changing, technology is changing, customers taste is changing, you adopt yourself. So, the quickly you can adopt, that is also a capability. So, you remain competitive. The information advantage, today is the world, means this is the world of information. So, you gather data, you analyze the data to understand customer preferences and how the preferences is changing. So, you refine your product or service and continue that customer romance with your product or service, and you remain competitive. Porter's 5 forces analysis. This is a kind of an understanding about the competitive landscape of the entire marketplace. We have this fonts are small, so I will just give a pause here and move to the next slide where I have larger fonts. This is just putting everything together. So, this is the content just copy pasted. So, competitive. So, we have a horizontal forces, 3 horizontal forces, 2 vertical forces. Horizontal forces, the middle one is the competitive rivalry, meaning you are in a marketplace and you have competitors, existing competitors. So, depending on their strengths and weaknesses, your strength and weaknesses, you will define your competitive advantage. Threat of substitution. Suppose you are producing something and selling, market is going well, but suppose that there is a substitute product. So, somebody comes up with that substitute product. So, customer may switch to that depending on if it is a wonderful replacement of your product, meaning if there is a cost advantage or the better efficacy, customer will switch. So, threat of substitution, threat of new entrant. See, today is the age of entrepreneurship, startups. So, every startup will come up with new technology. So, every existing companies are always under tension that new companies will come up with new technology. Technology is changing so fast. So, the major threat comes from new entrants. So, these are the horizontal 3 competitive forces. The vertical forces is buyer power, supplier power. There are many buyers. If there are many buyers, then you have unique power. But if there are less buyer, more sellers, then you are in a buyer's market. It is called a buyer's market, meaning that buyers are dictating the terms. So, you become price takers. They dictate the price. They will say, I won't buy unless the price is this. So, if there are many buyers, does it cost them much to switch to new seller? If it does not cost to switch, they will switch to some other place. If they can dictate terms, you may have to price very competitively, that will reduce your margin. Suppliers power, if there are many suppliers, you have the choice to buy from any and dictate price, but if there are fewer suppliers, they have the option to either supply to you or your competitors. So, they will dictate the price. This slide should have been slightly earlier during talking about network effect. It is important to understand that at present we are in the demand side economy. The flip side is the supply side economy. Obviously, demand side economy is where driving force of the business is economies of scale. This is known as network effect, meaning that suppose you have Flipkart. So, if you can increase your sales, if you can increase the variety of product, then you can attract more and more customer, and if there are more and more customer, you can distribute them. You can have a distribution network which will be more cost effective, because you can supply a large number of product across the country. Otherwise, suppose you are selling only few products and your customers are spread all across the country. So, distribution becomes difficult. At the same time, if you are selling too many products, then you can command a better price from your suppliers. So, you are always going to enjoy benefit in a situation where you are growing rapidly. So, that is what is network effect. Firms that have large customer base can afford higher variety of goods and enjoy this benefit, and these companies can give higher satisfaction to customer, because they give variety of product, and because they buy in bulk. So, their cost of acquiring the goods are lower compared to others, and they can sell at a lower price. They can easily grow customer base. Supply side economy is again the competitive advantage, or the advantage is derived by putting up huge scale of production. If you are manufacturing in huge number, so your cost of production per unit goes down, and then you can entice your customer to buy more. So, you offer at a lower price, customers buy more, you gain market access, but this is not today's business. But of course, today's business is a combination of, means many companies are very smartly combining the two and gaining advantage. So, let us move forward. We have already discussed this. Example will be, this will drive home the point in a better way. See, Amazon has two models. One is 1P model, another is 3P model. 1P means first party, wherein Amazon will acquire or procure all the goods from the vendors. They will buy the goods and keep that in their own warehouse, from where they will sell it in the same brand. So, customers will sell it to Amazon, title of the goods goes to transferred to Amazon, then Amazon sells whenever they like at whatever price they like. There is no influence of the vendor who supplied these goods. So, here vendor has limited pricing power, because if there is a huge demand by customers, vendors are not benefited, Amazon is benefited. At the same time, Amazon can sell product at a lower price, because they have procured the price at some negotiated price, they have procured the goods at some negotiated price, and they can now sell it at a margin whatever. Alternately, Amazon has another model, that is called peer to peer market model, where Amazon offer, the earlier one is the Amazon e-commerce site. The next one is peer to peer marketplace, meaning here you can post your product by yourselves. Amazon allows you to post your product in Amazon e-marketplace, and then customer will click on your product and buy, and that the price at which customers purchase is dictated by you. You offer the price. Amazon does not offer the price. So, if you see that demand is more, you can increase the price, demand is less, you can reduce the price and sell more. Now, there are 2-3 models on this peer to peer marketplace. Amazon may do the packaging and forwarding and distribution, that is called Amazon fulfilled or Amazon delivered. There may be another option where Amazon will not do anything, they just offer this platform, you have to get the orders and then supply it to the customer directly. So, there are kind of different thing. The network model has this advantage and this threat. One is you are selling to customers, then you gather customer data and you understand, you learn from customer data, learn what customers are actually liking, disliking. Accordingly, you refine your product, then you give better satisfaction with new product to the customers. Now, they are happier. So, you get more customer, get more sales, it keeps on growing the marketplace, and that is how it sustains this model. Effectuation, I will just discuss briefly, we have already run out of time. Effectuation, the model has been introduced by Saraswati, is an Indian, but settlements is an entrepreneur, is a cognitive scientist. He studied several expert entrepreneurs to understand how entrepreneurs decide about business model, and she realized that entrepreneurs most successful entrepreneurs decide about business model from the fact of their own strength and weaknesses rather than what business is doing good or bad. So, the core philosophy is that entrepreneurs try to learn what do they do best. Number one, who are they, meaning what is their qualification, what is their technical knowledge, and what is their experience, what they can do well, better than other people. Then whom they know, meaning their network of people or enterprises where they can bank on at the time of necessity, and then what resources they control, money, strategic resources like anything like mines or anything. A process referred to as effectuation is a process of thinking that helps entrepreneurs to identify and assess opportunity for new venture creation. It is a decision making principle for identifying business opportunities. Expert entrepreneurs, the same thing, who I know, what I know, etc. They are mindful of the affordable extent of loss. This is another important point I missed, that they try to estimate what is the potential loss, whether this loss is affordable. If the loss is huge, they will not venture into that business. So, they appreciate surprises, meaning that they know that there will be positive and negative. If business goes in the negative direction, they are ready to face that and they will redefine, they will pivot or something, but they will not crash under the burden. They make partnership with people of complementary skill, meaning that if they know something, they do not know something, they will try to partner with some people, means their co-founder that who can fill this knowledge gap or skill gap. They believe that future is neither found nor predicted, but rather made. They make their future, their destiny is created by them. That is what their trust is. Some references and some final words. So, thank you.